So welcome, Hal Rosenfeld from LA, California. You are a composer, arranger, percussionist, and orchestrator for
Hello.
movies, films, video games, TV shows, and you are at last count on over 93 films, video games, and shows. That's a
It's over me
lot.
then.
I
It's
know,
over me
I
then.
know,
Yeah.
right? And how old are you now, Hal?
I turn 27 next Tuesday.
You're 27 next Tuesday,
Almost.
and
Yeah.
you 93 films, video games, and TV shows. And these aren't like indie, some of them may be, but these aren't. These are some big time shows. These are ones
Yeah.
that I guarantee you people have seen some, if not most of this stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, man, and it's really cool for me to be sitting here with you because I met you at West Boca High School when you were in eighth grade. You
Yep.
came in, played some Yellow After the Rain, I believe. One hand in Steven's grip, one hand in Burton grip, and
I was killing it. Was
and yeah, and
Oh no.
Edric Rhodes sees me afterward. He's like, "What do you think of this kid?" And I'm like, "You know what? I think this kid's gonna go somewhere, man. I think he's pretty cool." So,
Oh
um,
man.
fast forward only what 15 years later, man, and you're
Now,
you're
yeah. I guess yeah. Eighth grade would be. Geez. Yeah. I guess yeah. And here we are. It's wild, and you still look the same.
oh man, you
You
you look
still
you
look
look
the same.
hairier.
Yeah. I know. I know. This quarantine has done me well. Yeah. It's funny as a musician. I still can't afford a razor. So
Yeah, right. I mean, but you look very artsy though, so it's
yeah, I'm
good,
going for the LA Silver Lake vibe,
man.
hipster vibe.
Yeah, so your studio looks somewhat it's a little cooler than mine. I'm not gonna lie. You got some cool microphones. I got a drum set over there. I don't really play much, but
You're
um,
fine. Yeah, you. I do love some of your drum set stories. Maybe at some point you can
we,
you can tell the people.
yeah, right, man. But
You
I'm
just
gonna
quote.
I'm gonna I'm gonna share I'm gonna show people some of the amazing stuff you've done, and then we're gonna just get into some questions about kind of your path and your journey to getting there.
Great.
Um, which is pretty cool. So let me hop over to this real quick, and this is what we're looking at right here. This is your page. That's you with my favorite picture of you, mind you. Um,
That fun fact. A good buddy of mine, Kush, took that picture. He plays with this rapper Watsky, and he's like a kind of like a trick photographer guy on the side. Bass player, and that shot is actually five different pictures. In
really?
one, yeah, you can sort of notice some of the repeated mallets, and but yeah, like we did the hands, and then he's like, and then I kind of stood still, and then he's like put a bunch of mallets like in my shirt, and he's like, okay, wait, stand still, let's put them in your pockets, and
That's pretty cool. I'm just glad that's the picture you use up here instead of a super over stylized Hollywood shot,
with the
right?
shot with the yeah, with like the yeah,
But if we look right here, it says right here you're known for Fosse Verdon, right, which is
yeah,
on FX.
uh
Penny
huh,
Dreadful, which is huge. Mulan, which is
coming out at
waiting
some point. I
any
know
point,
it's
right?
so good. I really hope that people get to see it when it comes out because the movie is incredible. I've seen it twice now in its full form, and it's so good. It's like genuinely one of my favorite projects I've worked on because it's not trying to be, it's not remodeled or trying to be the original animated show.
Yeah, so it's like a kung fu flick,
Yeah, it's kung fu flick
right? It's awesome.
with just like incredible acting and a great story, and the music is just it's unbelievable. It's so good.
Nice. And then probably the most popular one right now is the Greatest Showman. At least,
Greatest Showman.
if you ask my teenage daughter, at least for sure.
Yeah, yeah, which is
Um,
it's so weird and crazy to see that it's taking its own form. Because I
yeah,
remember when it came out, I was like, I remember I had gotten some friends together to go back to see it in Florida, and I invited you, and you went and saw it with Jen, and I was just like, yeah, this movie I worked on, this thing, and it had a horrible opening weekend. It made like $8 million opening weekend, and everyone was kind of just like, uh-oh, because the movie was in production for 7 years, and finally and now it's like crazy. Seeing it on
yeah.
all sorts of best of lists with like the Beatles, The Greatest
Oh
Showman.
yeah,
Like,
it's
what?
it's
No,
it's crazy,
no.
man. It's crazy, man. And like if you just look at some of this other stuff down here, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got the Eddie
In the Heights.
Axios Black Monday. You're in the Heights. Forky asked a question. Logan saw that quickly
Oh,
and was like,
wait a
"Oh,
minute. Wait, I've got a little.
you got a Forky."
Let me get it.
You were on Robin Hood, Awakened, Hate You Give. That's a great movie.
Oh yeah, that was a fun one. Yeah.
So just real quick, just we go back to these top four that IMDb lists you as being known for. So
Sure.
just if you could just quickly give us a rundown on what you did on each one of these.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because each of those four projects, my role was just so vastly different
Right.
from from the others. So like Fosse Verdon, that's probably one of the most near and dear projects that I've worked on so far. I got to work with a guy named Alex Lockamore, who music director, composer, Broadway pianist for like Hamilton, In the Heights, you know, Dear Evan Hansen. He's like Lin-Manuel Miranda's like right hand, but also like the dude is an Oscar away from an EGOT. He's the Broadway guy at the moment, and
Yeah.
he's from Miami, and so
Shout out South Florida.
hell yeah. And so we worked together on that to produce the music for that, which meant like because Bob Fosse, the guy on the left there, Sam Rock, portrayed by Sam Rockwell,
Right.
he was probably one of the most well-known Broadway choreographer and directors of all time. Cabaret, Sweet Charity, Chicago, Damn Yankees. Those are all his Pippin. Those are all his shows. And then the woman on the right there, portrayed by Michelle Williams, is his wife, Gwen Verdon, and she was really the brains behind his success. But she never got really any of that recognition because of just the time, how how society was. And so it's a show about their relationship, and each episode covers a different show. And so we had to recreate and reproduce some of these iconic Broadway songs like Big Spender and Cabaret and Mine Hair and some of the Chicago stuff. I mean, all in all, we reproduced between 40 and 50 different Broadway songs, and then that also includes score. And it was a 9-month project, and in the 9 months I worked on it, I think I had maybe 5 days off in the entirety of
Man.
9 months. I was like living in New York and
So you were one of the composers on this music,
yeah,
working
yeah, yeah.
through working through it, recording it.
With Alex. Alex is the
Sure.
overall music director, but it was a very small music team, but it was so that was more like that literally utilized my world as a player, my world as a composer, as an orchestrator, and just like I did a lot of transcribing on that and a lot of just like technical computer stuff. And then we go to Penny Dreadful City of Angels, which is airing right now actually every Sunday on Showtime. There's an area in the show in this part of the show takes place in this jazz club to kind of this
Right.
like Pachuco Jazz Club, because the show's about kind of like Spanish culture versus old Los Angeles culture. And so there's kind of this kind of speakeasy nightclub called the Crimson Cat in the show, and there's a couple big dance numbers which I arranged the music for, and played on it, and there was a big 7-minute long dance sequence that aired about a week ago now. That was a huge blast, and we've got one more dance sequence coming up towards the end of the season. So
It's awesome.
yeah, and then Mulan, which was supposed to come out a couple months ago, but who knows when that's coming out? They're saying July right now, but I mean LA, we're still locked in our houses till mid-July, so or till June, July, who knows? So Mulan, I was one of the orchestrators on that, which basically means the composer Harry Gregson Williams writes the music, and then as an orchestrator, I and whoever else is orchestrating takes the computer data, which is known as MIDI. Like in GarageBand, you click the saxophone button and you hit a note on your keyboard and you hear a saxophone sound. That's generated by computer data, and so there's someone who needs to take that data from the computer and put it on a score and make sure it's going to sound exactly like
Right.
what the composer and producers and directors intended. And so I orchestrated on that, which was really great because it's an incredible film, and there are some nods to the original and that. And then the other one, Greatest Showman, I played drums on the soundtrack, on one of the songs on the soundtrack called A Million Dreams, and I also played on the whole score, the underscore for the movie, which was again, especially fun, and that's kind of really opened a lot of doors for me. And yeah, that
Nice, man.
each thing different from the last.
Yeah, but that's
Each
awesome. I mean,
surprising.
the key thing is here that you're not a copy boy. You're not out there being, you're in the trenches. You're
But
doing the,
I
right.
was,
We're gonna get to that in a second.
yeah, yep,
But I mean, how great is it that like you're doing the thing? I mean, you're at
yeah. Thank
27
you.
years old. You are composing for film and music. And honestly, like I knew you liked it, and it was that Pathfinder song that you did your senior
Yeah,
year, where I remember being like, oh, okay, that this kid's for real, right? So
yeah.
you took a kind of unconventional path to get to where you are,
Hmm.
and you, if I recall correctly, after graduating from West Boca, you went to Florida State University,
Hmm. Yep.
and then how long were you at Florida State, and then give us like the quick timeline from there to you ending up in LA, because this is
Sure.
the key
Yeah.
point that I want people to, especially students, if they're hearing this, to take away.
Sure. Yeah. So I, you know, graduated from West Boca High School. Represent Dr. Edric Rhodes. And then before that, I went to Bach Middle School of the Arts, which I think both of those schools were extremely instrumental into my upbringing and background, and even like my skill sets. And then from there, I went to Florida State University because my parents just said that was just what I was going to go to college and state. I didn't come
Sure.
from a family who had a lot of money, and so
And it's not like the in-state schools are bad, like we
no,
have we
yeah,
had
no, I
in
mean, I mean,
Florida we
I
had
mean,
great in-state schools.
I think, and that was part of the problem was that I couldn't, it was tossed between University of Miami, University of Central Florida, and Florida State, and I really and I had offers from all three of those places, and I just genuinely couldn't decide which I wanted. And at the time, I had you know, I the percussion program at Florida State was really kind of like one of the best in the game. And I believe it was 2011, 2012 that performance at PASIC was, I think, kind of a game changer that people still even talk about. Yeah, it was kind of like the happening place. I had a girlfriend at the time who was already going there, and between that and like the draw of Dr. Parks and like the money and the program, it was just like this kind of had everything there. I think I would have probably been a better fit for University of Central Florida because they had some more you learn ethnic percussion, you learn
Sure.
drum set, you learn commercial music, whereas Florida State was just, they crank out some of the best, some of the best percussion educators, like orchestral percussionists.
Yeah, especially education for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I think because I just realized pretty pretty soon into that first year that just was not a fit for me in terms of Tallahassee and it wasn't really a fit for me, and I was kind of looking for every which way to get out. And uh, prior to getting to college, I had, through a longer story, I had met kind of some of my music idols. This kind of jazz big band called Gordon Goodwin's Big Fat Band.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
LA based band.
LA guys, yeah.
Yeah, I'd kind of looked up to them since middle school because the Bach Middle School of the Arts jazz band was just always playing Gordon Goodwin charts.
Hmm.
Mr. Mulan was always a big fan of Gordon, and so I'd kind of latched onto them pretty young, and I kind of somehow how they ended up in Gainesville, Florida for a summer thing my senior year of high school. They came to University of Florida. I wound up there and kind of got to meet a bunch of the guys and their drummer Bernie Dressel at the time. Him and I kind of connected, and Gordon, and I kind of connected, and I kind of being in Florida State, kind of realizing, kind of going through this mental crisis of like, am I meant to be here? Like, what do I do? I knew I wanted to pursue music and film, and I wound up kind of reaching out to a bunch of people, including Gordon and Bernie, Gordon Goodwin and Bernie Dressel. And Gordon happened to say, I kind of need like an assistant this summer if you want to come work for me in LA. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And so I kind of got myself some internships and just kind of kept my schedule.
So this is after your first year. Your freshman year finishes up. Now you're
Yep,
in
freshman year,
LA.
19 years old. Yep. And so
Where are you living?
I was living.
Like where are you living in LA?
Well, at the time, I was living in in a woman's condo that I had found on Craigslist. Very nice, very nice.
All right,
It
so
was
you
great.
rent it on your own dime, whatever it is.
Yep,
You
yep,
go out
yep.
there.
Oh yeah,
You're
and then from there I moved to a really sketchy apartment complex that the was no stranger to the police department.
Gotcha.
And
So you're a freshman in college. You finish up
Yep,
FSU. You go check out Gordon Goodwin. You travel what 3-4 hours down to UF to check out Gordon Goodwin's big fat
yep.
band.
For
Meet Bertie Dressel.
mhm.
Gordon says, "I need an assistant. Can you come out this summer?"
Basically,
Um,
yeah. I mean, like the University of Florida thing happened summer before senior year of high school, so there was
gotcha.
some period where I still
So
kept up. Like,
now you're in touch with them, and so now
yeah,
you head out.
exactly.
Right.
Get in touch, and then when I was kind of at FSU, man, like, what do I want to do? I want to try to get out to LA and
Okay,
and
so there are things that we, as when we do this kind of stuff, when we're on the hustle, that I think we take for granted, that I think other people need to hear, which is, did 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 this offer come with a big paycheck or a free place to stay? Is my
oh,
question.
absolutely not. I mean,
Okay,
no,
so
100%.
this wasn't like a really sexy internship with a paid position and a cool apartment in
No, I
L.A.
mean, no, I definitely made some money along the way, because I told myself that I wasn't gonna fully move out unless I was making some
No,
money.
I'm just talking about the internship. We're not past the
Yeah.
internship yet.
Oh, no, for sure. No, it was definitely not sexy in terms of I was not making six figures or anything,
Right.
but I was getting experience. I was getting
Sure.
to. I mean, my first week here, I with Gordon, I went to a recording session that he had arranged the big band for at East West Studios, and I walk into the control room. He's like, "Yeah, just go kind of hang in the booth." And I walk in the booth, and Phil Ramone is engineering, who was like, Billy Joel's producer, and like Elton John, who actually passed away a few months after that recording session. But it was like I was getting
Well, no, obviously there was a lot of value, but a lot of times when you put these things out there,
yeah,
the first thing is like, well, will I get paid? Well,
yeah,
it's too hard.
yeah,
It's too,
yeah, yeah.
but they don't
Oh,
see the other value. So you're out there for the summer. You do this. You meet all these people. You're hanging out, and I know you, man. You're not one to sit on the wall. Like you're trying to
yeah,
get in wherever you can get in. So after this summer internship is over, school's about to start.
sure.
What's the next
Right.
move?
So I had a conversation with Dr. Parks over FSU, who could not have been more supportive. He kind of knew where my interests lied.
Yeah.
No, it's still early here. And he was very supportive. My parents were pretty supportive. And I kind of I also I worked at a movie theater in South Florida that happened to have a location out in LA. So I on the weekends I worked at a movie theater, to earn some extra money. And yeah, and so I decided to kind of leave Florida State, and then I did a year here of community college, which is so funny because
In L.A.
in LA, yep,
So,
in LA,
so
yep,
you went out to LA. You have
yep,
Florida State for freshman year only. You
yep, freshman year.
go, you communicate and network your way into an internship with Gordon Goodwin,
Yep,
in the studio, hanging out there on your own dollar. You head out to
couple different
LA.
internships, yeah.
Couple different internships. You head out to LA. You decide that that's what you're going to do. You come back. You hustle up, save some money, work with your folks, get them involved, get some support, and then you head out to LA to go. Now you're out there. Now most people
Yep.
probably looked at you like you might have been nuts.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was. I think the interesting thing that even my parents were a little. I think everyone was a little skeptical because it basically, I never came back from the initial summer. I pretty much just stayed. Like,
Oh,
I
you
kind of
never even came back.
no, never came back. No,
Oh,
had my car shipped out with my marimba in the back. You know, and yeah, it was just I just stayed because I kind of took the gamble that if I would have left, because my initial plan was to just be out here for the summer, go back to Florida, and then kind of come back every summer. But I realized that if I went back to Florida and never didn't stay, that the opportunities that I had kind of started to kind of gather probably wouldn't be there when I got back. And I had already gotten myself into some other jobs by the end of the summer. That I was working at Johnny Mathis's office for a moment. I was working at I was working for a music contractor who hires musicians for sessions, and I had a bunch of these different kind of jobs in different aspects of the music industry, that I was already kind of making money somehow, and so I didn't want to leave, and so
yeah.
I did a year of community college here in LA, where community college world is different here. Like when we hear Palm Beach State College or Broward Community College, we think, oh yeah, they weren't smart enough to get into FAU or a different college. But here, like the city college music programs are actually pretty happening, and so I actually preferred some of those classes more than the school that I'm graduating from. But so I did a year of that. I was still full time working, so it'd be the equivalent of going to Palm Beach State College for a class, then going to Miami-Dade College for a class because I was working on Tuesdays, down near Miami in
Wow.
Portland. And then so I went to 4 or 5 different city colleges in that one year because I was just, Tuesdays and Thursdays I was working here, Mondays and Wednesdays I was working here, and so I think kind of one of the biggest overarching lessons to I think why I've been able to do a lot of different things is because I went into it doing a lot of different things, and connections from this world, and you get work from here, 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 and then this person knows that person from that different scene, and that person knows this person from this different thing, and then all of a sudden things are things are just kind of there's a really, really weird web and things are connected.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, so how long did it take you to get your undergrad then?
Oh no. I mean,
but what's important about that lesson is that people think they're under a timestamp. Like they have this race to get this degree so that their friends that why are you still in school? Why are you not in school? But the truth of the matter is you were working, you were building a life. School was a part of your plan. It wasn't the plan.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I did graduate from California State University, Northridge. How they gave me a piece of paper with my attendance. But I mean, it took me overall, including the 1 year at Florida State and the year of community college. Overall, I did 5 years of undergrad, which is fine.
I actually thought it was 7, but okay.
I mean, it will go unnoticed that last year was actually not meant to be, but the professor of Pro Tools 101 wouldn't let me test out of the class, so I had to stay an extra year to take Pro Tools. I was sending him screenshots from movies that I was writing on in Pro Tools, and he wouldn't let me and he wouldn't let me out.
Oh, that's rough. So just a list of, I don't know if there's a point where one arrives to where you get to work 2 questions. What have you all the sort of odd jobs that you've done in the industry to get to where you're actually in a position to write and score and do these things? And then what are you looking? What's the next level and what's the ultimate goal?
Well, it's a really good question. I mean, I think working different odd jobs. Because there's more than just.
Well, hold on. Time out with that.
Yeah.
I guess, and again, if you think about it from the perspective of someone who wants to be in film or who wants to arrange for film, they may think of John Williams.
Yeah.
They may think of Hans Zimmer or any of those composers whose name are top of the marquee, right? But I mean, there's so many jobs within music and film and composition and arranging and orchestration. So you did not walk in there and say, "Hey guys, I'm a film scorer. Give me some film work." Hey guys, I arrange things. Here's some of my college projects. Give me some film work. So the question is what things were you doing to build that web you were speaking of to get to that point where you were?
I washed a lot of dishes. I got a lot of lunches. No, I mean, I think, I'm not.
But you did though. But you're not kidding,
No.
and that's important for this next group coming up to know.
Oh, 100%. No, I did a lot of things for a lot of different people. Because I think a lot of it is not only earning trust, but I feel like when people come into these internships and they see that, all right, the trash bin is here. We've got the dish soap here. You got some different sponges under the sink. At 1 p.m. there's going to be, a lot of dishes here that is going to be your responsibility. I think when people hear that, they're just like, wait a minute, this isn't writing music. But with anything like Berklee College of Music or any of these places where you are investing either lots of money or you're investing lots of time or no money, getting paid. It's what you make of it. It's the people who you meet. It's because there is no internship where they just say, okay, you're just going to be here for the benefit of washing our dishes. There is always okay, you're responsible for the upkeep of the studio, but also you are allowed to watch someone work, or you're allowed to it's all what you make of it. So if you are just there and you are just only washing the dishes, or you're just only taking someone's lunch order, or you're just, running someone's errands, then yeah, then you're not gonna, no one's gonna really know who you are. But if you are, meeting other people, and I mean that lightly, like, because there are people who come in guns blazing that they're like, I'm gonna, aggressively extroverted. That's also as much of a no as it is to like, to like being just kind of like a turtle. But being someone who wants to learn and just like overseeing in your own head. Like I've always been one from like learning by watching, like, watching videos of, because I always took lessons as a kid, but my family could never really afford to take regular lessons. I was always like, whenever, I needed them, because that was just the way it worked.
Sure.
And so I always learned by watching, and by figuring things out. And so, like, I think seizing your own opportunities by observing, by being a fly on the wall, instead of being the overly vocal, and because there are those stories you hear of people watching other people work, and then asking, hey, can I also work on this too? It's like, no, that's not really how that works. But and so a lot of these are what you make of them. Like I'm a huge advocator for, if you're going to college, applying your learning elsewhere. Like if you are
Right away, like while you're learning it.
I think college is meant to be a supplement. Like you're not gonna guzzle a bunch of protein powder and expect to get ripped. I mean, you're gonna get that protein powder as like your workout, and you're gonna do stuff with it because the protein powder is going to help your body.
Nice analogy.
Do its thing. And I think if you I think school worked best for me. The fact that I was actually applying what I was learning on the job at the same time that I was doing it.
So I guess when did you go from doing all the intern jobs and doing the dishes and doing these things to getting paid for orchestrations and arranging and composing, and after this I want to talk about kind of what goes into your mind when you're composing and what you're trying to create. But I mean, this conversation could be hours and hours. But
I know.
So like I want to focus kind of on the career path thing for right now. But like, when did you make that jump? When did you make that?
It's a little unclear, but I know, I think each sector of my life, in terms of like as a player, as a composer, as like orchestration / arranging, each kind of area had like, there was a significant time to when I was doing something that got bumped to a more creative field, and pretty much that I'm thinking about, most of them are really kind of right place, right time. I know that's the most cliche thing, but I mean, for the first 2.5 years I lived in LA, Bernie Dressel, my drum mentor, I was his drum tech. Like I would show up to every gig, I'd set up his drums, I would stay the gig just to watch. I wasn't getting paid to stay the gig and watch him play, but it was a free drum lesson for me. And then I would tear the drums down at the end of the night, whatever it may be, 10, 11, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then bring the drums back to his house, let him in the garage, and I'd do that sometimes 4 or 5 nights a week. And then I remember there was he used to play with this wedding band, this kind of pretty high class wedding band, and they one night he just got really sick and started throwing up on the gig, and because I had for over a year at that point, every Saturday was watching him play the show. I knew the show like the back of my hand, and so I remember getting in on Ain't No Mountain, and just I had a suit in my car, and I just was able to finish off the gig, and then
stay ready so you don't gotta get ready. Stay ready. Hal staying ready.
Yeah, I had a suit in the back of my car, and funny enough, actually, Drew, you'd appreciate this. You remember Joe Giordino? He was actually in town.
Of course.
He was hanging with me for the weekend, and we were just kind of hanging around Malibu. We were watching some show, and like I literally was like, I gotta go, and I went and finished off this gig. But so that, and then like as a composer, I had worked with this composer named Joe Chapinese, who kind of most notably.
Wait, before you go over there, I'm go back to this. Go back to this. So you got your suit on. This is a great story. So Bernie gets sick. You got your suit in the car. It's like that moment in the TV show where they're like, "What will we do? Who will drum?" And then they turn around, and it's just like
Bernie texted me. I was down the street. We were actually watching the drummer of the Foo Fighters, Taylor Hawkins, has like this this like metal cover band called Chevy Metal, and they were happened to be playing down the street from where the wedding gig was in Malibu, and so we were watching them.
Oh, it was a wedding.
It was a wedding, yeah. It was a wedding. Yeah,
Oh, so you
it was
can't
the actual
reschedule
one.
those. Got it.
No,
Got
no,
it. Unless
no,
it's unless it's COVID-19, I guess.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
No,
But
it was like mid gig. I mean, it was mid gig.
wow.
It was an outdoor gig. He was thrown up, I guess. And I mean, he texted me before the gig started, or before. I mean, it was during the gig, I guess. I was waiting for the band to come out. This other band, different venue, and he was like, "Yo, do you have a jacket?" And it was like July, and I was like, "Why do you need a jacket?" He's shivering. I was like, "I got a jacket in my car." He's like, "Don't worry about it." And then he texted me. He said, "Throwing up, come now." And so I got in my car. I left Joe at the Foo Fighters gig, and I just ran down there and had a suit in my car because I used
And
to
you
have to
played the
dress.
gig.
But yeah, or
And
finished off
so
the gig.
so
It
you,
was like the
you
last
finished
half.
out the gig though, but how much did that probably endear you to everybody that
Well,
was there?
that was
Like,
kind of the turning point because I felt like a lot. At that point, Bernie felt like he could trust me as a player. I feel like I don't want to be putting the words enough because maybe he's watching this,
maybe we're friends on
I mean
Facebook.
that was the first time that I had really he really knew of me playing. I feel like, and then like the rest of the people in that band. I remember one of the singers turning around. I'll never forget this, turning around, like mid verse, kind of eyes wide open, like what the heck? It was this outdoor gig. What is happening? I think that for me was kind of the turning point where I started to kind of sub a bit for Bernie and. But while also I still after that, still was his drum tech for another year and a half, if not more.
This is an amazing story though.
There was but the thing is, I think there's never been an expectation of like I have this job because I'm going to take over someone else's job. That was never. I
Sure.
was just doing
Yeah.
it for the
Powerful
experience.
point.
I mean, almost similar thing with the writing thing. I worked for this composer Joe Chapanese for quite a bit of time. He was notable for the Tron score. He worked with Daft Punk and these other things, and I'd already been working for Monadnock for a few years. I had worked on that movie Allegiant with him. We had worked on a few other things with him as like an assistant, like more technical. Almost everyone coming out of college, for film scoring is gonna be working as like a tech assistant, which is still that to me is the best knowledge because people want to start establishing themselves immediately after college as a writer, but people don't really even know how to name their files properly.
Wait, say it louder for the people in the back. You want to be a composer, but you don't even know how to name your files properly.
It's a true story, man. I mean, people don't know how to give a click track to an engineer, and like these are things that they don't teach you in college, really. I mean, I'm sure I'm gonna get some angry professors in my inbox, but it's true. I mean, I've that's some of the most valuable experience was working as a technical assistant at Hans Zimmer studio and for the other composers. But basically, with Joe, it was back when. Do you remember that the last kind of sans pandemic we had that Zika virus? One of Joe's assistants, it was undiagnosed, but had put what might have been Zika virus in the middle of two movies we were working on. And I remember getting that email. Can you write music today? Do you know how to write music in Pro Tools today? And then I just hopped on and started writing cues, and it was pretty much everything in my life has been baptism by fire. Like my butt is calloused from all that fire that I've endured.
But you stayed ready. Like
Yeah,
you never went there waiting for the opportunity. Think, oh, this isn't the opportunity. Like you were always ready. You were learning and picking it up so that when the opportunity came, you could.
That's the thing.
You were ready.
I put myself in these ridiculously stressful situations because there is no way out but to figure it out. It's got to get done. So I'll figure out something and it'll get done whether it's a good product or it's not. But there is no option but to have a good product.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's been a lot of my experience is like a right timing thing, and then after that, those two Netflix movies that we did, Shimmer Lake and which is
Go-karts.
Ray Wilson. No, not quite Go-karts, but
but I like go-karts. That was cool.
That's a great movie.
Go-karts was cool.
Yeah, I played on that, orchestrated. Yeah, Shimmer Lake's a great movie. It's about a bank robbery heist, but it happens in reverse. The movie starts with the bank robbery, so you know who did it.
All right, well, I'm gonna check it out then. I'm always looking for.
It's got Rainn Wilson, and yeah, it's great. But so that one and this other movie called The Siege of Jonathan were my first two things, and after that, Joe was like, "Oh man, I guess you're fairly competent and like you can write, so I'm gonna get more work so that way we can get you involved." And
And that's it.
And so that was kind of where I started writing, more in a more serious, like front. Where and then the next thing after that, almost immediately after, we did this 10-episode TV show called The Dead of Summer for ABC Family. That was just like fire. I mean, from then on, it was 3 straight years of nonstop. Dead of Summer, Quantico, Wolf Warrior 2, which is China's highest selling movie of all time, grossed $1 billion.
Wolf Warrior 2?
Wolf Warrior, it wasn't even the first one. Yeah,
No, it was a
2.
sequel?
Yeah.
Nice. Man,
Yeah,
but
it's breaking records. Yeah, wild. So it was just nonstop, and then off that, I'm continuing because I want to say that the way that I was able to at least kind of get thrown into it was because from that first day, I'm saying every day, meaning nights and weekends, every day for 3 years, I was writing at least one measure of music, and I was working on, meaning like every day I was
wow.
trying to get better, and so just when you see those challenges come up, like, okay, like write an 8-bar fugue every day for a year and see how you improve. It's a thing, because if you do something every day, you're bound to figure something out. Like,
So here's my question then. So we talked about kind of the career trajectory. We talked about the importance of staying ready for those opportunities, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about kind of like, of course, all the stuff you're working on in all these different areas. Like if you would have went in there being like, I'm only going to compose, like you still wouldn't be working probably. You know what I mean? Like
I probably
you were
would.
willing to do lots of stuff.
That's the thing, yeah, and because I've always had. I mean, you know me, Drew. Like, I've always had a bunch of different interests. My brain has always been super
Yeah.
scattered at a mile a minute and mile a second, and so I've always drawn more inspiration and more mental stimulation from just having different things going on.
But it's important, though. I mean, it's important that you know all aspects of this business. I mean, if someone says, "Hey, man, record drums for this track," that you know how to get the track, get it, label the file, right? Record the drums, make the drums sound good, send them back in the exact format in which they want them presented to them, so that they have the least amount of work to done. If they say to do, so if they say, "Hey, I'm sending you this piano thing, can you orchestrate it?" Or "I'm sending you this MIDI file, can you orchestrate it?" You know how to do that, and all of that stuff, equals up to making a life in film, and that really impressive 93 films, TV shows, and games for a 27-year-old.
Yeah,
I know, it's crazy.
Fortunate. Yeah, been very, very, very fortunate. I'm still fortunate with the opportunities that I get every day, especially now. I'm starting to do some work in the pop world. Like, we got the new Jonas Brothers single that just came out, and
What did you play on that?
Played lots of percussion.
You're a Jonas brother?
Yeah, no, no. The new Jonas Brothers single that just came out.
The adopted one.
Yeah, exactly. The Jewish one.
Right, the adopted Jewish one.
The Jewish brother. No, on that one, I think what ended up as a triangle. This actually, funny enough, right here, this $20 Guitar Center special one-handed triangle is all over that track. Listen to it. It's there the entire time.
I should go find it right now and pull it up.
Yeah, I played a lot of bongos, congas, shakers on that. What else on that? Yeah, we've got hopefully another big radio hit coming out this Friday that I can't say what yet, but we'll see.
What's the name of the Jonas Brothers track?
Called X, just with an X. Yeah, it just came out on Friday, featuring Carol G.
Oh yeah. All right, interesting. All right, we'll get back to that in a little bit. So real quick, like when you're composing, someone says, "Hey, give me an example of the call that comes in. Got this show. It's a pilot, or it's whatever the case may be, and we need a song for something. And then what are you thinking about? Like, okay, this is the mood. What are you thinking about harmonically? Let's get a little heady real quick, like for the music cats.
So usually, usually when I'm asked on a project, it's usually for the it's like, all right, we've got this movie coming up, you game, yeah, sure. One second, laptop's gonna die soon. It's like, are you game to work on this thing? Yeah, sure. And then then we'll get the movie or the TV show or whatever, and nowadays a great way for the production side of things to communicate with the music side of things is through other music that they like. Like they love the vibe, or they love the tone of this piece of music from The Big Sick, or insert whatever movie that's kind of similar, or like
Gotcha.
It helps communicate with us. It's like if someone had said, "Hey, Drew, like I want you to play this solo on my track, but I really love this, like
Sure.
this Gary Burton solo for Crystal Silence, like so you know kind of the vibe of the motion of what they're going for, the
Right.
style,
Right.
you know, and so that's kind of the majority of how things work, in terms of like, you know, what we're referencing, what they're liking, what they're not liking, and so yeah, and then kind of go full speed ahead, and then you know then there's always, you know, it's a very collaborative process between directors, producers, you know, everyone else. It's usually very collaborative. People voice their opinions, what they like, what they don't like, and then it's always like, okay, yeah, let's change this, let's change that, and you know, and sometimes movies happen for weeks, sometimes they happen for months. TV shows happen for months usually. But there's usually that what we call temp music, which is that their way of communicating. This is what we're liking. This is kind of the kind of vibe we're liking for this scene.
Nice.
Liking.
And so what do you write on? Like, are you all keyboard with your sounds? Are you sitting right now at the workstation?
I am. I'm working on this Disney movie at the moment where I'm using a bunch of found sounds. So I have water bottles and I have a bunch of plastic utensils behind me somewhere. So it looks like a bit of a mess, but it's all with a purpose. Yeah, I've got a keyboard here.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm all in Pro Tools. I've got some outboard gear over here, some compressors and EQs and stuff. And then I've just got a pile of junk everywhere. I've got this tambourine, love that. Got a bunch of plastic water bottles that I've been recording.
Random tabla.
Yeah, I got a random tabla sitting in the corner. I've got this box of plastic utensils that has actually been coming in really handy because it's got some like rattle to it when you hit it. And then I've got this table, this like wooden plank that I've been using a lot.
I'm about to go sell all of my expensive percussion equipment, and
yeah, I mean, this,
you know,
this wooden like speaker stand here with these spoons and you can see with these spoons and forks are all over this movie I'm working on because like they just yeah, so it just sounds, you can make one sound and it's not the way to go, but like I love recording random stuff and people sometimes love to rag on you.
So what's the next goal for you? What's the next thing?
You know, next goal, next thing.
Like, where do you want ultimately when you're like, where do you want to be? Like, what do you want to be doing? What's the day look like? What's the ideal situation?
It's tough, you know, because I've come at it with such an I don't know what if perspective. I think that I have such I almost have too much of an open mind to where sometimes I feel like I lack direction sometimes, you know, because I just like I'm game for anything. But like the projects kind of keep getting bigger, which I'm very fortunate for. So, you know, I would love to be able to, you know, work on a project under my own name, you know, where it's my project and kind of harness that project and kind of coddle that baby. You know, I'd love for that to be you know, another step. I'm very thankful for the work I've been getting in like the pop hit world. That's kind of been more of a newer thing. So that's really cool, getting to work on that stuff. I don't know. I really love working on projects that I am passionate about in my own personal life. Like I love working on stuff that I genuinely would be watching or viewing in my own personal time. So those are things that are really important to me. Is just working on stuff that's creatively fulfilling. So I'm kind of lucky to be at that point where I feel like I'm able to say no to things that I just don't really have any desire to work on. So it makes things more enjoyable when I'm working on stuff like, yeah, I want to watch that. Like it looks really good. So.
That's pretty awesome. So you don't have. So I mean, you'd be like John Williams, Hans Zimmer, Hal Rosenfeld.
I wouldn't ever use my name in a sentence with those two people, but like
yet.
I'd love to be like music by or you know me sort of thing, you know.
Right at the top there. Next, Hal talks about getting calls to record on pop music hits, in specific his work on the Jonas Brothers' latest single, X. Who gives you this call? Who calls people for this kind of stuff? Because I think people imagine, especially if you're a little younger, like Jonas Brothers just called you up and said, "Hey, Hal, want to come? You know, you're the brother we don't speak about. You want to come play some percussion? Like, how does that kind of thing work?"
Yeah, you know, a buddy of mine by the name of Matthias Byland. He lives in Sweden. He's like I mean, that dude's like my hero. I mean, he's like, he's there's this music producer named Max Martin who's like kind of credited with kind of, discovering Britney Spears and the Backstreet Boys. I mean, like, some of his hits as a producer include like "Hit Me Baby One More Time" and like all these. I mean, the dude is like the biggest name in pop music like of all time. He's kind of invented the sound of pop, and so so my friend Matthias, he's kind of the music arranger, like arranges all the horns and strings and stuff for pretty much anything that comes out of Max Martin's studio. And so I've been lucky to have cultivated a friendship with Matthias over the last half year or so. I just, I really love the work that he does. I mean, some of my favorite things that he's ever done. I mean, the string arrangement on of the Ellie Goulding song "Love Me Like You Do" is just so great. I mean, that like,
And that's him.
yeah, it's him. I mean,
And so he got this job with the Jonas Brothers, or he produces them, or he's producing the album.
So basically, so if someone's working on a track for any artist, Jonas Brothers or Ariana Grande or Taylor Swift, or whatever, they say, hey, all right, like this song could use some strings or horns or whatever, like, do your thing. And then like, like Matthias, if he's hearing something that he thinks I'd be a good fit for, he'll say, hey man, like, want to take a crack at this? And it's like, great. I mean, like on the Jonas Brothers song, I mean, like he sent me like 12 bars of it, and I recorded 16 because I was like, well, I'll give an extra 4 bars. And then, I gave way more than I knew they needed. I just, gave a bunch of stuff. That way I knew they were going to just kind of pick and choose.
I think you just said some pretty deep stuff right there. Like you got a job offer, and you didn't just do the minimum. You didn't just do the thing. You gave them way more than they knew. And I think that, honestly, Hal, I got to tell you, I think that knowing you since you're 12 years old, man, that's I think that's been your thing forever. Like you've always done that, and I think sometimes people have hated on you for it. You've had educators who have been like, "Yo, you need to chill." You've had colleagues who've been like, "Hey, man, you're making us look bad," whether they said it that way or not. And I think that's a good lesson. Like always do more than you think that they need, man.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
I think I would. Yeah. Honestly, I'm really glad that I was the very incredibly, and I don't mean busy like schedule-wise, I mean busy like too many notes busy.
You were. I remember gigs I had to tell you to calm down.
Yeah. I'm glad it was that way because in my own just like maturation of like myself, I kind of started to realize that, and I personally think it's better to tone down than to feel like, oh man, I don't have any like I need to tone up. So I've kind of learned, I think, just through my own personal life experiences, not music related, that it's better to kind of just not give everything away immediately. and like there is something really attractive about like a sense of mystery and like just kind of not, maybe not doing like your favorite double bass drum fill in the first 8 bars of the song.
Right. Maybe. But I thought, I mean, that was like the Hal MO for a while.
Oh, I know.
But man, you've always been super skilled. So I know usually I take way too long to get to this, but MalletLab 2020 is coming up. I'm super stoked. Yes. Yeah. I'm super stoked that we're able to have you.
I'm honored.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's all digital, and what I want to ask you is, you got 3 parts. You have more sessions. Well, some people have 2 sessions and a concert, so you don't have a concert. So you have 3 sessions. So what can people expect going from like session 1? Which
we're gonna dive in pretty deep. I mean, we're gonna go dive in pretty deep. We're gonna go from the ground up. We're gonna learn kind of the absolute basics about how to make music in a computer and what does that look like. We're going to go all the way up the totem pole to different things you might encounter on a gig of any sort of composition sort.
How to name your files.
We're going to get into that. How to name your files. How to make things easier on yourself. And not renaming every file individually in the Finder window.
Yep.
We're going to get into like deep sound design stuff. We're going to kind of tackle some like the acting in the scene is really bad. What do I do with my music to help combat that, or make it seem like it's better than it is? Or the acting in the scene is really good. What does the scene even need? Like they're telling me it needs this huge orchestral thing, but it doesn't. What do I do? So we're gonna get into that.
That's a really good question. That's a great, yeah. What if you don't agree, like as a composer, with what the production team is telling you that they want?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we're gonna get into how to make a sound out of this. How to make sound out of that. We're gonna get into all sorts of fun stuff.
Wow, that's gonna be exciting. I'm gonna be in attendance for that, man. I'm gonna pick up some gems.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be in attendance. Are you kidding me? Like that, Stefan Harris, and Blackout. I've got all of his albums. Like, so
he's ridiculous, man.
I'm gonna be bright and early for him and Sasha and I don't
know if you checked out the new schedule. Nothing's starting before noon Eastern.
Noon your time. Yeah,
Eastern, right. Well, before I didn't think about it. I had things starting at 9 a.m. because usually everybody comes to me to do this thing.
I know.
And then I got one message that was like, "Hey man, I'm in LA. Do you think you might be able to put me in the afternoon?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, no problem." And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, "There'll be students in LA. There'll be Hal. Like most of our faculty's LA West Coast."
Yeah. So funny.
Man, that's awesome, Hal. I personally am extremely proud of you as one of your former educators and friends. And I got to ask this question though: what starlet are you dating right now? That's what inquiring minds want to know. What red carpet? Who's with you on the red carpet next?
I do have a lovely girlfriend at this moment. She's killing her own game. I really look up to her as a person, which is really important, I think, for any sort of relationship. Oops, I just. That's
all right. We'll leave it there.
No public thing.
I think
I know what you're getting at.
Us Weekly just started following me, and people just sent me a message. They offered me $50,000 to ask you this next question. No, I'm just kidding.
Me. Yeah, right.
But hey,
I'm all trying to help you out. I want to.
No, I appreciate that too. So I will use that power. I will respect that power. Now have you won an Emmy? Projects?
Well, I've been adjacent to.
You're Emmy adjacent.
Emmy and Grammy adjacent, I guess. I've been lucky enough to work on projects that have won, accolades like that, and then I'm also especially lucky to have been recognized, with the certificate and stuff for my efforts in these projects. So, it's the line is always blurry, man. About I guess I could technically say. Grammy and Emmy winning, but I feel weird about that. There are people who say Grammy nominated because they played on something that was Grammy nominated. So I don't know. I say adjacent because
we're here. We've been speaking with Grammy and Emmy award-winning film composer Hal Rosenfeld. You don't have to say it. I'll say it.
Thank you.
He'll be at MalletLab 2020, June 15th and 19th. You can go to MalletLab.com and sign up. You can just sign up. We have it so that you can sign up for the whole camp. It's $400 for the whole week for all of this.
What a steal!
Yeah, it's crazy, and you can have access to it even after it. It's going to be up, so it's not
I paid $400 for my Postmates last night.
Yeah, right. And you could just say, you know what, I want to get Hal sessions and Hal sessions, session 1, 2, and 3. You could just buy the Hal Rosenfeld package. You could buy it by the day. You could buy it just by Monday. You could buy it by Tuesday. You can't make it on Tuesday. But even if you buy the whole session, it'll still be available to you to take from. And I think you're going to drop a lot of knowledge that people are going to want to come back to again.
I think it's worth. It's the most worth it. I've actually invited a lot of my colleagues who are actually going to be signing up. Not even Mallet people, but people who just.
Oh, I don't think this whole camp. There's very few things that are Mallet specific about this camp. Other than the name MalletLab.
Yeah, no, there are people even. I know some people who are just even working in LA but aren't in the the composition scene who I've been telling them about this, and they're like, oh man, I want to get on that. It's probably some of the best pricing you could get. You could also buy the Hans Zimmer masterclass for probably way more money, and you're only gonna learn about how to
be Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So so this is going to be great, man. It's going to be a lot of fun having you. I'm looking forward to learning from you, and
I'm stoked, man.
And we can chat again. Again, this is Grammy and Emmy award winning, red carpet crushing, Hal Rosenfeld, man. Hal, great to have you, buddy.
Thanks, Drew, and everyone else who's watching. Everyone taking time out of their Monday. Thank you. I'm super stoked. So.
And we didn't even talk about coronavirus.
We didn't even.
That's a good podcast. That's a good stream right there.
All right, cool. Well, enjoy the rest of your day
Yeah,
and
man.
tell your lovely family to say hello.
I'll do it, brother.